So this is my first time recording for this channel, and I used to have a YouTube like years ago, and so it's been like a hot minute since I've been recording. So please bear with me. Please bear with my not a below average editing skills, but I wanted to just film a video today because I haven't done my daily devotions yet, and it's like almost 1 p.m. when I'm filming those, which is like I normally do them first thing in the morning, so like I need to get them done still. But I've also been getting a ton of requests from you guys to do like filming of my Bible study routine and just like my through my Bible and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of the beginning of what today's video is. But I do want to do a thing on this channel because this channel is all about tea and Jesus slash God slash, you know, all the Christian things. And so I wanted to do a spotlight of the tea of the day. So, segue into the tea of the day. My tea today is my happy little look on the sunny side of things mug that I got from my step-grandparents, and I love it, and it's like my favorite mug ever. So my tea of the day, though, is Celestial Seasonings Country Peach Passion. Beauty guru time, yes. If somehow they stumble across this, please send me your tea. This is like my favorite peach tea ever. So yes, highly would recommend. But that is my tea of the day. I'm essentially just going to do like a kind of routine type style video with this and share with you guys what my Bible study routine has been as of late. But the actual devotional I've been working through is, again, a fairly popular one, and it's just Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. And I actually got this one, I want to say in like 6th or 7th grade, so a while ago now. And like if you look through, like all the pages are like underlined. That one's not, of course, you know, marked up and stuff. But I love this devotional, and every single time that I read through it, like I've read through it, I've definitely fallen off some years, but I've read through it pretty much like consistently each year since I got it. And every time the days are always like really good. So again, this is like a really common devotional. I've been on the hunt for a new devotional. If you have any recommendations, like please let me know in the comments. But this one is just a great starter one, so I always read this one in the morning. So today is, I don't even know what the day is, 1 second. It's the 24th of May when I'm filming this. So this is today's devotional right here. So I'm just going to read through this a little bit, and then I will check back in after I finish this portion. So I just finished my Jesus Calling, and I'm going to go into my actual like kind of study routine that I've been doing lately. So I have 2 different Bibles right now, and this one is one of them. It's the first picture that's on my Instagram for this channel slash, you know, section. So I painted it myself, so it's like not the best painting job, and it's definitely like definitely starting to crack right here. But you know, this Bible I got it. This is going to be really dorky, but so my 8th grade class, for graduation, I went to a Christian school, and so they got all of us Bibles, and so this is my like cool like graduation gift Bible, and I've been reading it like to death pretty much for the past like few years. But I love the translation. It's New Living Translation, which is one of my favorites, but it is just it's kind of like reaching the like it's still applicable, but I do want to get a new one that's not, you know, just a newer one. But so that's this one, and this is my like main study Bible because I do feel like it just has more depth to it. And then my more like if I'm doing, I usually will read this one. This is my this is the Canvas Bible. It's the Message translation. It was published by Tyndale and NAF Press Books, and I like this one. I try and find a page that I've actually colored so far because it has like a lot of illustrations in it. Like here's an example of one. It has illustrations in it, and you can color, and it also has like wider margins so you can take notes and stuff. So you get better lighting on that. There we go. But I really enjoy this one because of that. But the Message translation, and this is just my opinion, it's not as good for like doing an in-depth study just because it is it's a good translation. It's just it's not as in-depth as I like if I'm going to go for a hardcore study on something, which is why I usually will read this in accompaniment with a deeper translation like the New Living Translation, which is just one of my current favorites. But obviously also like the New King James, Old King James, all those are cool. But the book I've been studying through recently has been the Book of Job. So let me actually flip open to that. I should have done that first. Oops. Hopefully you enjoy my like randomness because I don't know, I really want to be myself on this channel, so we're gonna just do it, warts and all. So, side note, I'm going to shout out the dollar store because they have this set. I already have used one of them to its full extent, but they have this set of like nice like pastel highlighters, and they don't bleed all the way through my Bible pages, which is nice because like Bible highlighters are like stupidly expensive, I think. Like, obviously you don't want them to bleed through the pages, but we ballin' on a budget here, so I would much rather get my dollar store ones that, I mean, they bleed through a little bit, but not bad, so. Anyways, so I'm starting in Job 34 today, and what I've been doing each day is reading at least 3 chapters of the main book I'm studying. So right now I'm studying Job more in depth. So I'll read 3 chapters of Job in this Bible, and then I will go and read those same 3 chapters in this Bible, because for me at least, sometimes like the New Living Translation or the King James, the New King James, they're just a little bit like heavy to fully understand what's being said. More of the textbook version, and then I'll read the Message translation as like a accompaniment to kind of break it down a little more for me. And then I have, that's just my current thing. So I'm going to read through my 3 chapters of each one. So again, I will be reading, I am starting Job 34 today. So I'll read Job 34, 35, and 36 in the New Living Translation, and then I'll read those same chapters in the Message translation, just because, I don't know, for me, I find that's the easiest way to fully grasp what's being said and to get the most out of it. So I'm going to do that, and then I will pop back in, and if you guys would rather actually see me read it, we can do that too, but I'm just going to, for the sake of time editing this, because I do want to try and get this edited and up either like Tuesday probably this week, but just for the sake of saving myself time, I'm not going to include like reading him this video, but if you guys want to see that, I can do that for the next one and do like a time lapse or something like that. But I'll pop back in just like probably 20-30 minutes, so I will be back. I'll be back. What I normally do is I will read both translations, and then I will go back and I will go into a separate notebook and write down my notes, just because like with this translation, with this Bible, there isn't enough room in the margins for me to write down my notes. And then also I don't know, I don't like to write a ton like in the actual text when it's a Bible that doesn't have room in the margins, just because I like to still be able to like go back later and read just the straight words without having like to read through my like writing all small. But I don't know, I wanted to share some of the things that I got out of the New Living Translation version of this portion of scripture before I start reading the Message one. One of the parts that really stood out to me was in chapter 34, in verses, all of chapter 34 was really good. Let me just preface by saying that. But I really, really liked verses 16 and 17. So verses 16 and 17 say, "Now listen to me if you are wise. Pay attention to what I say. Could God govern if he hated justice? Are you going to condemn the Almighty Judge?" And then in 19 he continues and he says, "He doesn't care how great a person may be, and he pays no more attention to the rich than to the poor. He made them all." And like, that really hit me hard. Justice is one of those things where it's difficult, like when you are facing, not necessarily facing God's judgment, but when you're dealing with things on your own, it can be difficult. Those verses really stood out to me because it can be so easy to think, oh, well, like, Sally's a better Christian than me, or like, oh, like, did you hear what Serena did, or stuff like that. And it's like, no, like, God made all of us. Like, we aren't any better or any worse than any other person. We're all sinners. We all are only going to be going to heaven by grace and not by our actions. And I feel like that's something that is really forgotten in, like, especially in Americanized Christianity, is that we don't get to faith by our works. We get to faith by grace and grace alone. But then in verses 21 through 25, he continues and says, "For God watches how people live. He sees everything they do. No darkness is thick enough to hide the wickedness from his eyes. We don't set the time when we will come before God in judgment. He brings the mighty to ruin without asking anyone, and he sets others in their place. He knows what they do, and in the night he overturns and destroys them." And that was a really good, like, it was kind of like, I don't know, that was a really good, that hit me really hard, because it's like, like, we can go through our lives and we all have those seasons where it's like, why is this happening? Like, I wasn't ready for this. Like, you all know what I mean. We all have those moments where it's like, why this? Why now? Why me? But it's important to remember that we don't choose when things happen. We don't choose when God will give us the realization, or, we don't choose when God shows us things, but he shows us those things at the moment that we're in, like, for a reason. It's not that he randomly shows us. It's not, that, oh, he just wanted to get back at so-and-so by waiting to show us. No, he has a plan for when he shows us things, and while it can suck in the moment, he has a plan for why he waited to show you or to, uncover the truth to you and stuff. And that was really, 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 really good. And then in chapter 35, this also hit really, really hard. I don't know if it's the whole portion, but I'm just going to start with the whole portion because it's all highlighted, so I'm pretty sure it's this whole thing. But third chapter, Job 35, 5 through 14 says, "Look up into the sky and see the clouds high above you. If you sin, how does that affect God? Even if you sin again and again, what effect will it have on him? If you are good, is this some great gift to him? What could you possibly give him? No, your sins affect only people like yourself, and your good deeds also affect only only humans. People cry out when they are oppressed. They groan beneath the power of the mighty, yet they don't ask, where is God, my creator? The one who gives songs in the night. Where is the one who makes us smarter than the animals and wiser than the birds of the sky? And when they cry out, God does not answer because of their pride. But it is wrong to say God doesn't listen, to say the Almighty isn't concerned. You can say you can't see him, but he will bring justice if only you wait." And that was another whoa. It can be so easy to get caught up in our own lives and in our own heads and oh man, God's gonna be so disappointed in me if I don't do blah, or if I do that, or it can be so easy to think that what we do has such a huge impact on everything. But really, and I mean, not that God doesn't care and not that God doesn't want us to do good things, but really, it doesn't affect God if we do the best of the best. And we can't do the best of the best because that would mean we're perfect, and we're not. We're all fallen creatures. We've all screwed up. We all will screw up, and we all will, ultimately fall short. And that's why we can only be saved by grace. And that, I don't know, that portion right there, that was really, really good. Look all around you. God loves you for you, and it's not your actions, and it's not what you do that makes him love you. It's the fact that he made you, and I heard a pastor a while ago mention how he has this daughter, and she's 3 or 4 or something like that. And so whenever he comes home, she always wants to show him all of her toys or all of, whatever. And he's and it's not that I'm not excited and happy that she has those things, but that's not what I care about. I care about her, and I just want to spend time with her. And, in the same way, God is our Father. And, he loves seeing, God, look what I did today. I was able to show so-and-so this, or I was able to, do blah, blah, blah. But really, I mean, not that God doesn't care about those things, just not how that particular pastor doesn't care about the things that his daughter likes, but God cares about us, and he just wants us to be able to, lay it all down before him and be hey, I just want to be in fellowship with you, because that's ultimately what we were created to do. We were created to have fellowship with God. Sorry, there we go. We were created to have fellowship with God and with other people, and it's so easy for us to forget that and to get caught up in our heads and to get caught up in oh man, I have to do this to make God happy. And no, he is happy with you as you are, because he's already forgiven you for everything you've done that's wrong and everything that you ever will do that's wrong. And that's something that's so easy to forget, and that we really need to focus on remembering more, because ultimately that's what matters. Sorry. Anyways, Job chapter 36 verses 5 through 7 say, "God is mighty, but he does not despise anyone. He is mighty in both power and understanding. He does not let the wicked live, but gives justice to the afflicted. He never takes his eyes off the innocent, but he sets them on thrones with kings and exalts them forever." And then chapter 36 verses 11 through 13 continue on to say, "If they listen and obey God, they will be blessed with prosperity throughout their lives. All their years will be pleasant. But if they refuse to listen to him, they will be killed by the sword and die from lack of understanding. For the godless are full of resentment. Even when he punishes them, they refuse to cry out for help." And then verses 15 and 16 say, "But by means of their suffering he rescues those who suffer, for he gets their attention through adversity. God is leading you away from danger, Job, to a place free from distress. He is setting your table with the best food." And then verses 19 through 21 say, "Could all your wealth or all of your mighty efforts keep you from distress? Do not long for the cover of night, for that some people will be destroyed. But be on guard, turn back from evil, for God sent this suffering to keep you from a life of evil." And that was another thing that was just really hit home for me. It's like, it can seem like the world is falling apart around you, and it can seem like that you're never going to be able to get out, and it can seem like you're just surrounded by so many problems and so much adversity and so much horrible things. But that's what God's going to use to grow you. Like there's a quote that's you grow through what you go through, and that's really important. And especially in our walk with Christianity, like everybody has a story. You might have grown up in church, you might have not had the life-changing testimony that some people have, and that's okay. Like God uses all of us differently, and he's brought us all up in different ways, and he's teaching us all in different ways. And some of us are going to go through really hard trials, and some of us are going to go through trials that might not seem like they're as bad compared to other people's, but God is going to use all of the trials that any of us go through to grow us. And it's important to kind of keep that in mind before you go into the season of trials and tribulations, because ultimately, like, when you're in those seasons, everybody says, oh, everything happens for a reason. But if you don't have established in your head that, that everything does happen for a reason, and that there is a reason you are going to be going through afflictions at some point in your life, it's way harder to find the truth in those sayings and in those truths that people are going to inevitably tell you when you're going through seasons of trials. It can be really hard to see those truths if you don't have established already that, I'm in a good season now. But in order for me to grow, I will be tested. I will go through trials and tribulations. And there's something about knowing that and coming to terms with that in a good way versus being like, oh, God's only out to get me. I feel like that's something that a lot of Christians will say, oh, God will never give you more than what you can handle. And no, that is a lie. God will never give you more than what you can handle with him. And so many people forget that portion. God only will give you what you can handle with his help, because he is our helper. He's our creator, but like ultimately he is our father, and he wants us to have the best life we can. But that doesn't mean a life free from trials and tribulations. It means a life free of going through those things alone, because he's always with us. And it can be so easy for us to be like, man, I feel so alone, and like nobody knows what I'm going through. But God is right there. He's like, it's like you're walking down the street and you're like, man, like, I'm scared, like, I'm alone, like, oh no. And you're walking right next to your best friend and they're like, dude, like, I'm right here. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm right here, ready to talk to you. And God is the same way for us. Like, it can seem like in the seasons of trials that you're like, oh man, like, I just don't know how I'm going to get through this. And God's sitting there like, dude, I'm right here. I'm going to help you. Like, come on, just ask for help and I'll be there and I'll do it. And that's just something that's so important that so many of us, I feel like, just glaze over. And that's something that is, I don't know, it's just really important thing that a lot of us need to actually pay attention to, is that, like it says, like, God is going to give us, or we're going to have trials in our lives, not because of God, because of sin in the world, but God is going to use those trials to grow us as people. And that is something that is so key. And that's like really evident in these 3 chapters that I'm reading today. So I'm going to go read the Message translation and then I'll be back. It started raining, so the lighting is not as good now, so I'm sorry. The beauties of living in the Pacific Northwest. But I've just finished reading in the Message one, which I love this translation, or like I love reading this translation as a separate study Bible, but I don't like the specific Bible because there isn't like verse numbers on it, which like drives me a little bit crazy. Like if you look at that, you can't see verse numbers, which is like, it makes me really sad because I like to be able to like reference which verses I'm talking about. But I really like the way that the Message worded this portion. It says, let me put my bookmark here. Yeah, sorry. So in chapter 34, 13 to 15-ish, somewhere in there. This translation says that how God makes us pay for exactly what we've done, no more, no less. It's impossible for God to do anything wicked, for the Mighty One to subvert justice. He's the one who runs the earth. He cradles the whole world in his hand. If he'd decided to hold his breath, every man, woman, and child would die for lack of air. And I thought this was really good. Anybody who knows the story of Job was, a really wealthy man, and he was one of, like, the higher-ups in his town, and then the devil came, or, like, because the angels were watching Job, and, like, so the devil came into the courts of heaven and was like, yo, like, or God was like, dude, like, have you seen my guy, like, my main man Job? Like, I love this guy. Like, he's, like, never dishonored me in any way, shape, or form. And then Satan was like, oh, well, he's only liking you because you've blessed his life. And so God was like, okay, like, do whatever you want to him, just don't kill him. And, like, do whatever you want, but don't, like, he set a couple boundaries, but aside from that, he was just like, you know what? Like, fine, test him. Like, he will stay true to me. And so, in that situation, everybody's like, well, why is Job being punished? And so, in that sense, Job didn't really deserve what he got. But I think it's still really important for us to remember that when we go through things, like, for example, let's say you go through, I don't know, if you go through something and, like, before you went into it, you knew it wasn't going to be a good idea, but you did it anyways, and then you had to, like, clean up after yourself afterwards, and then, like, it exploded in your face. You knew going into it that it wasn't a good idea, but you still did it, and you, like, that's, you know, you kind of got what you were trying to say, oh, you know, it'll work out, it'll be fine, but really you knew what you were getting yourself into in the first place. So that's kind of, you know, I thought that was a really good point, that, you know, we get exactly what we've done. We don't get more, we don't get less, but there are obviously some situations where, like, we can't really explain why it happens, but I still thought that was really good. I also really liked, I don't know which portion this is, but it's still chapter 34, and it's towards the end. It says, if God is silent, what's that to you? If he turns his face away, what can you do about it? But whether silent or hidden, he's there, ruling, so that those who hate God won't take over and ruin people's lives. And I thought that that was really good, because it can be so easy for us to feel like God's not there, and to feel like he's abandoned us, and, like, you know, like, we're alone when he's silent. But that's also, there's always that one quote that Christians will say, you know, the teacher's always silent during the test. And I just thought that paired with this verse was really, like, I don't know, it was just really interesting. And, you know, it's a good point. Like, God is still there. He's still in control of everything, even when he's not, like, speaking to you and not telling you why things are happening. He's still there, and he's still got it all under control. It's just, you know, he's silent during the test, as they always will say. And another thing that I thought was really good is it says, just because you refuse to live on God's terms, do you think he should start living on yours? And that was just like, oh shoot. Like, because it can be so easy for all of us to be like, oh, like, I don't know a good equivalent, but, like, let's say, you know, your career or a relationship or a job or whatever, and you know it's not a good idea. You're like, oh, it'll work out, you know, God will make it happen, he'll make it work. And so you go for it, and then it implodes, and you're like, why didn't that work? And that's just like, hey, just because you said no to that thing that God is pointing you towards does not mean he's going to say yes to what you're going after. I don't know if that makes sense. I thought that was really good. I was like, oh, okay, God, okay, all right, you know. And then again, I just love the way that they also worded this portion where it says, look up at the sky, take a long, hard look. See those clouds towering above you? If you sin, what difference could that make to God? No matter how much you sin, will it matter to him? Even if you're good, what would God get out of that? Do you think he's dependent on your accomplishments? The only ones who care whether you're good or bad are your family and friends and neighbors. God's not dependent on your behavior. And I was just like, that is so important, because it can be so easy for us to feel like, oh, like, God's going to be happy that I did this, or, oh, he's going to be happy that I did that. And, like, again, it's not that he doesn't care about those things, but what he really cares about is you, and in, like, the fact that you're developing a relationship with him. And it's not, you know, he doesn't care about the showy things. He just wants you as you are, seeking after him earnestly. And I just, that was golden right there. So, yes. Sorry, I'm really weird if you haven't picked that up. And I also just thought it was really good because there's another portion here right after what I just read. And it says, when times get bad, people cry out for help. They cry for relief from being kicked around, but never give God a thought when things go well, when God puts spontaneous songs in their hearts. And then it continues on in a verse later to say, people are arrogantly indifferent to God, until of course they're in trouble. And then God is indifferent to them. So there's nothing behind such prayers except panic. The Almighty pays them no mind. And I think that's really important, because in all of our lives, it can be so easy that when things are going well, we just kind of, you know, put our faith on the back burner. Or, you know, we don't spend as much time in our Bible as we know we should be. Or we don't spend as much time in fellowship with other Christians or in prayer, or, you know, anything like that. And it can be so easy to be like, oh, you know, it's just going well. But then when, you know, crap hits the fan, we're like, oh my gosh, God, why would you do this to me? And it's like, we need to be seeking him so strongly, both when things are going well and when we're, having a code red, like sirens blaring, SOS going, And I thought it was really good. And it's like, no, we can't just seek earnestly after God and seek Him wholeheartedly when things are going really, really, really wrong. We need to be seeking Him both in good and in bad. And I think that that's really important, and that a lot of us do forget that. And even when we remember it, we still tend to fall off the bandwagon when things are going well. So, I don't know. I was just like, okay. I like that was really good. And then the last portion that I want to highlight in today's little scripture reading, or Bible study, whatever. I don't really want to call it a Bible study because I am studying the Bible, but it's more just, these are my personal thoughts. I'm not going off of any other studies, and like, obviously we all are going to interpret things differently. But this last portion here is at the tail end of chapter 36, and it says, I'm going to skip some of the verses, but highlight the ones that I highlighted in my actual Bible. But it says, "O Job, don't you see how God's wooing you from the jaws of danger? How He's drawing you into wide open places, inviting you to feast at a table laden with blessings. Don't let your great riches mislead you. Don't think you can bribe your way out of this. Do you think you can buy your way out of this? Not on your life. Do you have any idea how powerful God is? Have you ever heard of a teacher like Him? Has anyone ever had to tell Him what to do or correct Him, saying, 'You did that all wrong'? Remember then to praise His workmanship, which is so often celebrated in song. Everybody sees it. Nobody is too far away to see it. Take a long, hard look. See how great He is, infinite, greater than anything you could ever imagine or figure out. He pulls water up out of the sea, distills it, and fills up His rain cloud cisterns. Then the skies open up and pour out soaking showers on everyone. Those are the symbols of His sovereignty, His generosity, His loving care. And I really liked the part where it said, can't you see how God's wooing you from the jaws of danger? Because when we're going through those trials, when we're going through those tribulations, it can feel like, oh my gosh, like God is attacking me. But that's not it at all. He's letting us go through and experiencing those things so that we'll grow closer to Him, so that He can call us out, and not call us out look like honey, but call us out and be like, come home, like I'm right here and I want to be there for you if you'll let me. And I think that's just so important, and I just thought it was really good. And I also think that it is important to remember that, any of our accomplishments here on earth, like, they're kind of useless. Not that we shouldn't strive for better or strive to do our absolute best, but really, we came into this world naked, we're gonna go out of this world naked. We can't take any of it with us, And I think that's something that, especially in American culture, it's so easy to get tied and sucked into we need the bigger, better house, the bigger, better car, the bigger, better relationship, the bigger, better clothes, stuff, anything. It's so easy to be materialistic in the modern day sense of the word versus being like, we actually want to have good quality things that are going to last us. And not that that has anything to do with this, but, just it's so important to remember that money isn't everything, and that we can't depend on that, and that, it's going to fade away. Like, if you have, let's say, not that any of us do, but you have $5 million sitting in a coffee can under your bed because you want to have that prepared for if, anything goes wrong. And your house burns. And, all your money burns too. And so you're left with nothing. It's like that with anything in life. We can plan and have all these great dreams and hopes and plans, but ultimately, it's not gonna, it can change like that, and then we will be left scrambling if we don't have our foundation built on our faith and on, knowing that God is there and He's going to help us through these things, and He's going to give us the direction we need to move forward. And I don't know. I've talked way longer on these 3 chapters than I meant to, but usually what I do, today I'm not, because now I have other things I need to work on after this, but normally what I'll do is, I will read 3 chapters of whatever, Old Testament book that I'm trying to get through, and I've been trying to get through Job, so I'm working through Job right now, almost at the end, yay, excited, but I'll read 3 chapters of that, and then I will read 1 chapter of either Psalms or Proverbs, just kind of whichever one I'm feeling that day, and then I'll read 1 chapter of one of the Gospels. But I don't do that every day. I try to, but I am in college, and so my morning classes, I don't have a ton of time in the morning, and I'm already getting up at 4, so getting up earlier is it's not going to work for me. So I usually will read just 3 chapters of whichever book, which currently, like I said, is Job. And then if I have like later in the day, if I have time and I feel like I need to, I will delve in again and do my chapter of Psalms or Proverbs, and then also my chapter of one of the Gospels. But if not, on the days when I have more time, where I don't have a morning class, I will then delve in deeper. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope this wasn't like really boring, and I hope that my rambling wasn't too much for you guys, because I do tend to ramble a lot. But another thing I do, I'm just gonna do this really quickly, so just 1 second, gotta grab it. But another thing I'll do is I have like a separate notebook that I use, and so, which I've showed this a little bit on my Instagram, is I will do like a page of just an overview of everything that I gathered from the book. So like this is my one for Job so far. So I'm gonna put in some of the things that like I really got out of my devotions today in here, and then later on I can use it to look back on later. So like this is everything I've gotten out of Job so far, which is a lot. And then Hosea is a short book, but when I read through it, I also wrote down all of that here as I'm dropping my notebook. But I hope, like I said, I hope this was like interesting and that you guys enjoyed this. And if you guys have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. If you have any video requests, again, let me know in the comments. If you want to stick around and join me again, please feel free to subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it, I guess. Again, I have an Instagram, which I will leave either linked in the description or like put the I don't know what it's called, like the @so-and-so on the screen. Probably going to be starting a blog site for this this as well, but I'm also currently running another blog, which is my more personal one, and I have a lot on my plate, so I don't want to like also add that on before I'm used to doing a video schedule thing, but I'm gonna try and do 1 video a week. I'm either probably going to be uploading them on Mondays or Tuesdays. I'm probably gonna have to upload them from my college, so just kind of it's gonna depend each week which I do, but I'm gonna shoot for getting this up on Tuesday this week. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys all next week for another video. And again, if you are interested in seeing more daily content from me, please feel free to follow me at T_and_God on Instagram, which I again will put right here. And I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video of just my Bible study for the day, I guess. And again, if you guys have any Bible study requests that you want me to go through, let me know in the comments. If you have any Bible study suggestions for either like actual like Bible study books that you would recommend, again, please let me know. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your Tuesday, which is hopefully when this is going up. And I hope that this was a informative / interesting video to watch. And yes, I will see you guys all next time. Light, luck, and love. Bye, guys.